Hi, my name is Patrick Chandler. This is our Kickstarter project. It's called KickStarter Studios. To help get KickStarter Studios off the ground, we're donating this project from Robot Underground called MACK, M.A.C.K, Modular Audio Concepts and Kinetics. Hey guys, this is MACK. And basically the idea came from Dan Wiggins back in 2005 to basically cut a motor into modules or pieces so that you can stack them one on top of another to get the top thickness you want, to get the magnets you want, and then also to get the T-yoke or the pole piece as tall as you want to make whatever size you want. Now this can be applied to tweeters, mids, or woofers. In the case of the Kickstarter, we're actually going to just apply it to woofers this time for this batch, and that should get us going to do everything else that we need to do. What this does, I mean, this frees up so much stuff. I mean, this is actually an old DB drive motor that we can actually extend if you wanted. I mean, already it's massive, but if you wanted to extend it a bit more, this is actually this is not the actual thing, but this is a puck from a Diamond Audio D6 motor, where they actually build the back plate and the T-yoke real short, just out of one piece. They machine it out of one piece, and then they add this on to extend it. So I'm not the first one to do this, but we're the first one to open it up to the public and allow them to basically build and design their own woofer, or at least the woofer motor. So the rest of it will be all custom stuff, which is already done by people like Dave at PSI, and you know, different basket colors and things like that. But the main part we want to focus on is the motor, because nobody seems to be doing that. And let me show you here real quick. Basically, you just stack these on here. You'll glue and stack them on. And so we're going to use here a different shape, just whatever. Doesn't really matter. And the idea is just to build up a mass of ferrite that can then be magnetized. So, and what we want to do is raise money on Kickstarter to pay for a building, just like the first 90 days, and a magnetizer. That will get us going and get us moving, and we'll start making custom subwoofers for you guys. So, but the gist of it is that I'll show you some pictures here on some previous designs that Dan was working on, but that's pretty much it. Okay, here's another shot of the DB T-yoke with the Diamond D6 extension, and then I cannot locate what this chrome top plate is for, but it will work just as good as any. And then the other part of MACK that we found out is that to make it detachable, we can actually use an existing tooled frame, and all we have to do is offset the holes. If you drill the hole in the window between the two spines, you can actually use a simple tool like this to reach in there and just unbolt it. So we just use a stainless cap screw for most of our stuff. On the older T.C.O.Z stuff, we actually use this with a rubber washer, and this can be accessed with this simple tool, which you can get at Harbor Freight for pretty cheap. And then this is the original T.C.O.Z modified Allen key idea. So that's one way that we do it. But like I said, we want to have the multiple bolt hole patterns so that you can enjoy whatever frame that you choose on your MACK motor. Okay, there's two things that make MACK unique, which is one, it's modular. So it's like having a big set of Legos where you can make whatever you want. And then the other thing is that it's all open source. We want to use open source parts where you can get several different manufacturers to make without any tooling costs or anything like that. We want this to be very affordable and open to everyone to build whatever they want. Yeah, as you saw in the video, there's a couple of references to MACK motors that we've built as prototypes and actually sold. Some were compared to the JL Audio motor, some were compared to the 3 HP motor. This is This is the Brahma Mark IV. And this is where Dan actually started using the modular setup. This is actually two top plates that have been glued together, and inside each one has been machined so that it has a lip that sticks out so that it has the XBL squared. And that's the great thing about this MACK project, is we'll be able to build whatever you want for the customer. So if you want XBL, if you like XBL squared, we can build that for you. In fact, that's one of the prizes in the I think it's $555 range. I mean, gosh, the woofer is worth easily a couple $1,000s, but we're giving it away for $555, and it's a huge version approved by Dan of the Brahma motor. So yeah, and this thing is pretty beefy itself, and this is the modular design. Notice the small, extra small vent. That's to create higher velocity, so it actually pushes the hot air away from the motor and out the back. So we can do things like that as well, and modify your woofer to what you need. And I mean, this is great for prototyping. I mean, who needs a custom woofer? But there's a lot of fanatics out there that people that just they want really badass woofers, but they also want to save a lot of money, and that's where we really hit the sweet spot, I think. With high performance, high value products. So, oh yeah, that was the other thing was, yeah, you can either choose XBL or you can choose what is also known as LMS. We'll be calling it LSD, which is linear system design, and it's a variable wind coil. So let me show you that real quick. I found him. So this is the LMS Ultra coil, which is a dual 2 ohm version with the variable winding. You can see that here it's wound more than here, and then it is wound more here as well. So as it moves through the gap, the BL is heightened. The BL force is heightened near the edges, and that's to even out the BL curve, so it's not so pointy. It's more kind of oval or flat. I think this is an older version of the coil, because the latest version is actually a stainless steel former. This one is actually an aluminum former. Here's the original version, the LMS 4000. We got a box of these by mistake when we were buying out a lot of stuff from T.C.O.Z before the bankruptcy. And so yeah, this is the LMS 4000. It's basically it's a 3-inch version of the LMS technology, which is a linear motor system, and then they also had it called LMT, which is linear motor technology. So, and basically what it does is just uses a thin top plate, which is for us would be a typical 12mm top plate, and a lot of excursion and a lot of magnets, and you got some really badass, you know, 3-inch excursion fully linear. I think within a 5% or 1% BL distortion. It's fantastic. So we'll be offering that as well, if that's what you choose. And well, you know, that's the great thing about making it modular, is that we can actually experiment on a smaller platform, like a 2-inch platform or a 2.5-inch platform, and then you know, really put some big, you know, magnets on it just to experiment. And the cost on that will actually be phenomenally cheap. I mean, just insanely cheap. I almost forgot, the other part of MACK is building top assemblies for other motors. So this is actually, you could actually call this like, say, an RE Audio Destroyer or other just big lug motor. And as long as it has that 5-inch hole pattern, we can build a top assembly for you, usually on the TI frame. And we just drill, like I said, in between the windows, and we can make it here and then deliver it for you, and you can bolt it on and have some bass. This is actually the JL Audio 13W7 motor. It's quite large. It's got a thin top plate. I'd love to do an LMS experimentation on this, but for right now we're actually going to do just top assemblies for it. There's 2 ways to do it, which is, one, you can put the TI frame on there, and then you can drill out way in the corner. You can put a bolt in there, but that doesn't make it removable. That just makes it you know, available to you to reuse. And then the other way is to use an adapter, So it just you get this from it's cheap aluminum that you can get from the scrap yard, and then you take it to a water jet place. In our case, once we have the CNC router, we'll be able to make these in-house and customize them. Basically, you put that on there, and then you bolt on the bolts, preferably countersink, so that it doesn't leave anything on the top, and then you can bolt this into place, and you're good. So now we can sell you a top assembly for the 13W7 anywhere in America, or even in North America for that matter. And you know, it's not that I hate JL. I'm just kind of annoyed by some of the things they do. I mean, they're stereotypical top level audio company, and they make things proprietary so that you have to go back to them to buy things. Apple does the same stuff and hasn't stopped them. But I think it leaves opportunities for guys like us to sort of do something different. To send this back, you have to have the original frame, of course, and then you have to ship the whole thing to JL, which is all the way in Florida, and then you got to pay them a bunch of money to recon it, and then they'll ship it back to you. And personally, I'd rather just have people just buy these or find them or whatever dead, and then just buy a top assembly from us. And then that way you're not stuck with a 13. If you want to turn this into a 10, you know, shoot, it's a killer 10. If you want to turn it into a 15 or a 12 or an 18, I think that should be your prerogative, but that's just me. So nothing against JL, they make great products. I think they're a little overpriced for what you're paying for them, getting plastic parts and all, but you know, a lot of people love them, and you can't dog them for that. So, but I just want to change things a little bit for those that want a change. Same thing with those old like RE Audio Destroyer motors, or even something like this, the DB, what is it called? The WD from DB Drive. We would just drill and tap the 5-inch hole pattern onto this, and then it's completely modular. So, and we can use with any TI frame and make it into an 18 or 10, 12, 15, or whatever. Just to also review, this is the this is actually from T.C.O.Z. This is the 3 HP top plate, which we have on an RE Audio SX T-yoke, and then the D6 extension. So now it looks like a MACK 3-ton, which is basically the same concept. We made for the top plates to be 7-inch so that we can put the LA Storm LA frames on there as well, and those take either the side, I don't know if you can see that, the side post, or the 4. That's where we got the idea, is actually it's in the window, the 4 here, or if you want to do regular 6-hole pattern, here's the 10-inch, same deal, badass 10 for cheap. Real quick review around here for Robot Underground. These are all subs that have been prepped and are ready to build. So they're all spec'd though, they're not sold. And then we come back here. There's a little shed. Frames. So we got plenty of frames for you guys. So when I find a good deal, I just kind of take advantage of it and try to soak up as much as I can. Keeps going. Those are some PPI tube driver top plates, the shrouds I've been meaning to get posted. I just get so behind because it's just me. And like there's a bunch of circuit boards. We keep a bunch of circuit boards too. Dead amps for parts. These are all diamond. Phonics. This is all PPI. More shrouds, heat sinks. Over here is Orion. We got the original HCCA crossover things. Tons of stuff. But I'd love to post all this stuff, and the whole idea behind Robot is basically just to gather good deals and then pass them on to other people below market value. So everybody wins. We get to survive another day, and you get to have boom for cheap, and then hopefully we can teach you a thing or two about either just selling or making a living at home, or helping others get subwoofers for cheap. I mean, music has changed my life completely, and I didn't get exposed until later on, but now it kind of dominates. It's fun though, and I hope it's fun for you too. Let me show you in here. So, but MACK is really about giving more options to people, because I know when you buy a woofer, not only in the store, I should say, not only is it expensive, but you don't get any say in the design, you know. And there's a lot of manufacturers out there that make stuff to fail after a year, so that you have to buy a new one, you know, and it's just out of warranty. And you know, I mean, this is our T2 Extreme, the way it is now. This is the Rockford T2 motor. It's a great motor, but the frame that they put it on limits excursion and doesn't allow it to do what it really can do. So we designed an extended coil to give it more throw, and then we gave it a suspension that can, you know, use that, and that's on the TI frame. And then we used a glass fiber laminate cone and a matching cap, and then we sell it for $350, which is insanely cheap compared to, you know, even a 15-inch T2. And everybody wins except for shops, and that's fine with me, because shops have been ripping people off, and not just ripping people off, but taking their money and then treating them like garbage on top of it. And it sucks too, because if you're, you know, an end user that doesn't know any better, you know, or there's no other shop in your area, what are you going to do? You know, they got you. And I just hate that manipulation. And so that's what started me, and that's what still spurs me today. It's not that I get mad at shops. I mean, they kind of paint themselves into a corner by, this is audio cue. They paint themselves into a corner by getting these retail locations that are just really, that cost a lot. And so then they have to pass on those costs in order just to survive. And the way I've been able to do it is just cut all that overhead, and then also get out of the way, you know, let people have a good deal, and then guess what they're going to do? Go tell their friends, and then their friends do the same thing. Yes, that is a Boss speaker. It's made by Eminence, made in the USA. It's a great speaker. It looks like the old Volcano Audio speakers, made in Kentucky. But you know, I really, with this project, I just want to open up options for people. You know, this isn't for everybody. Speaker building is not for everybody. But if there's a specialist in your area, you know, that we can network with and get you in touch with, then they can be your provider. And that's what my dream is to really enable some shade tree installers to be able to do the same job or a better job than a shop for about half the price. And in turn, that person gets to stay home with their family and just make a living from home. So that is the MACK project, and thank you very much for watching, and thank you for all your support.